world. In my previous video, I used Beautiful Soup to scrape all the realtors pages, the real estate realtors from the realtor.com pages for the local community that I'm in. It's 3 cities kind of combined, and I scraped all of them using Beautiful Soup, and we just stopped at creating a list of them. And this is all for a project that I call the Financial Genome Project. It's something I kind of made up in my mind, and I'm starting to use Python to make it a reality. And so basically it's to map out all the financial genome of a local community, so you always have actionable data at your fingertips. You can watch that video by clicking here. And at the end of the video, I mentioned that instead of just putting all those names of the realtors in a list like Excel sheets or Access database or even a simple local SQL server, I was thinking about storing it on some sort of cloud service or platform as a service. And so today's video is going to be setting up a Heroku, which is what we have here, a PostgresSQL, PostgresQL, however you say that, database. So we're going to test the connection in this video, and then we're going to actually create a table with 1 row. And then in future videos, we'll start publishing data to the Heroku PostgresSQL database. And we'll also use SQLAlchemy, a library called SQLAlchemy. So let's check that out now. But first, welcome to the 187th video on my channel, where I'm building my own digital assistant named Shane, like Jarvis from the Iron Man movies and comics. This is the second video in my Financial Genome Project playlist, and so you'll get to see me build this project as well as my other projects on this channel. Please consider subscribing to my channel. It helps a lot. Like this video and leave a comment. So the first thing that you need to do is set up an account on Heroku. So if this is your first time, go ahead and sign up, and I'll walk you through it. So let me sign in real quick. All right. And then, so I already have some apps on here. So you'll want to click New, then Create New App, and give it a name. You can't have spaces, so remember the dashes. And then it'll take you back to here. So I chose a personal hobby account, but just know in November 28th, these free databases will go away. So we'll create a new video with other free services, hopefully. So once you have created your app, go ahead and click on it. And so like I said, I have a hobby dev right now. Yours won't look like this. But what you can do, you'll have a blank overview. But what you can do is go to this resources page. And then you won't have this right here. So you'll go ahead and click Postgres, and you'll find a Heroku Postgres. So click on that, and then you'll add it as a database. Again, I chose the hobby dev function, which is free. And then it should take you back to this page right here. And then you'll click your Heroku Postgres. And then it'll take you to this overview page. So we have 20 connections. 0 out of them are being utilized. 0 rows out of 10,000, which we get for free. 8.5 megabit is the data size, and we have 0 tables already. All right, so what you'll do is you'll go to Settings, View Credentials, and then I've blurred mine out, but remember these credentials are not permanent, and I'll show you what that means in a second. You're going to need this URI. You don't have to copy and paste it now. We'll get to that when we go over the code. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is you're going to need to import Psycopg2. Pretty sure the author didn't mean for it to be said like that. You find it in settings, so you can either pip install it from the command line or go to settings, the name of your project, install here, and find it, Psycopg, take out the H because it's not really Psycho, PG2, find just the default one right here. And then you'll also want to find SQLAlchemy, SQLAlchemy right here. So make sure it's this one right here, the capital SQLA. So go ahead and pip install those. Then you're going to import Psycopg2. And then from SQLAlchemy, import create engine. And then we're going to create in all caps database underscore URL. This is in all the documentation, so I do recommend you use this naming nomenclature. And then that URI I showed you in the settings, go ahead and copy and paste it here. Now, if you read the Heroku documentation, they find a way that uses this Psycopg2 to get, or it uses OS, the library or operating system, to get the variable. It does not work on my Windows machine. It's definitely user error on my part. So I am sending this as a literal string, but just know that these are not permanent. So you might have to go back and check it. And then if I can figure out why my os.get's not working, then I'll maybe pin it to a comment. But for now, I just copy and pasted the literal string of the whole URI here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to test the connection. And we're going to make sure we can even connect to Heroku. So I created a function called test connection. I set it up a shorthand connection equals none. So CONN equals none, right? So that's our default setting. Then I put it into a try and accept block. So try, so connection now equals psycopg2.connect. Then you're going to use this database URL, which is up here. And then don't forget to add this SSL mode equals require. All right, so I think the default is it requires the secure socket layer. So SSL mode equals require. And then we're going to set up a cursor. So cur equals con.cursor. And then go ahead and call that. And then we're going to execute a SQL statement to get the database version. So we're going to print the current version down in the console. And then cursor or cur.execute. And then select version. So that's a SQL command. If there were tables, it would give us a list of tables. But we don't print those out, and I'll show you how to create a table in a second. And then to get the version of it, we're going to say, so we can print it, because this SQL execute doesn't really return anything per se. So DB version, database version equals cur.fetch1, and then print the DB version. And then you have to close the cursor, right? We're closing the communication with Heroku. And then if we get an exception as an error, we're going to print that. So print the cause, and in here we're going to format the error. And then finally, so at the end of your try and accept, we're going to, so if the connection is not none, so basically if you're connected, connection.closed, and then print database connection closed. Okay, this is common if you use PYODBC. This is the same naming convention and syntax. So let's call that for now. So we're going to test the connection. Okay, we'll run this. Okay, so what happened was, as we set up here, first it'll print out the database version, the statement, and then it connected to Heroku. So it's a PostgresSQL 14.5. It's on Ubuntu. This is the host information, blah, blah, blah. And then it says the database connection is closed. So perfect. So there's nothing that shows up on Heroku that we just pinged it. So so now let's go back to this Heroku Postgres, And let's go back to this screen right here. So 0 of 20 connections, 0 of 10,000 rows, because I'm on the free hobby dev, 8.5 megabit data sites, and 0 tables, all right? Because all we did was test the connection. All right, so let's get rid of that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually create a table and insert a row in there. So this time we're going to use from SQLAlchemy. Remember when you import it, it's the capital SQLA. From SQLAlchemy import create_engine. So this database URL, make sure it's outside of all the functions, because we're going to use it down here. So now I created a function called create table. We're going to pass it the database string equals database URL. That's why it's outside the functions. So our database is going to equal create_engine and pass this URL. Then we're going to create it. So database, so db.execute. And we're going to create table if not exists. And we're going to call this realtors. And we're going to have one column in there called name, and it's going to be type text. Now this syntax right here is called SQLite, but it's basically SQL commands right here. So this is not a tutorial channel, so I'm not going to go into what this is, but that is the execute statement. So if this table does not exist, which it does not, right? We have 0 tables. Then you're going to create one called realtors, and we're going to have one column, which is the name, and it's going to be a type text. This can be type integer, type character, like char, but just realize that this can't have spaces. You have to use the underscore naming convention, and same with this. So if we wanted to first name, you would have to do it like this. So okay, and then what we want to do is we want to add one row. So database.execute, so db.execute, insert into realtors, which is the table we just created if it's not already created. In the name column, we're going to insert the values Brandon.Jacobson, and that's my name. And what we can do with this is we can run, so right after this statement, we could put a for loop here. And so for each name in the list that we created of all the realtors, we can insert the name values Brandon Jacobson, and I would just take this out, and then whatever I named the for loop, I would put that in. So that's the future plan. But for now, we're just going to enter my name into the first row. Then, so I can show you that it worked, we're going to read it. So the result set, or you could just put results if you want, equals database.execute, and then select from all, right? So select everything from realtors, which is the table we set up. So for every row in result set, print R. Okay, so for each row, we're going to print that. So let's call this now create. Okay, there we go. And then 2 spaces. All right, now let's run this. All right, so the first row just says Brandon Jacobson, right? That's the only thing we have. Now it takes a couple seconds, but let's refresh this. There you go. And now we have one row out of the 10,000 free rows we're given. The row is in compliance. And now we have one table. And now the data size is 8.6 megabytes. All right. So that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I apologize for the delay in it, but I have to learn all of this as a self-taught programmer, and then I share it with you all as I learn it. I appreciate everything, and I appreciate all the recent subscribers, and thanks for watching. Goodbye, world.